Once Upon a Time, the musical episode, Sunday on ABC.
This is like our shtick now. This is what we say. We're like, we're so excited, but it's true. Like we definitely have been looking forward to it. After doing the show for so long, you get really excited to have something new and different, and just, I don't know, I guess
it was
fun
also
to look forward
important
to.
that they did it right, you know, and the way they've incorporated it into the, I guess, mythology of the show is really clever. So where it's not just a one-off standalone kind of thing, it's part and parcel of what makes Once Upon a Time.
Yeah. I have one song separately where it's kind of near the very end of the episode, actually, and the tune is set to the melody that is Emma's theme and has been Emma's theme through the whole entire show. So Mark Isham's score that is behind Emma's moments is exactly what is her song, and so it's kind of cool too that now it feels like there's been this through line of the show having that theme, and now we understand what that means to Emma, and we understand the way that it is actually able to break a curse that's been going on. And so so that's my kind of one big number by myself. And then we have a little duet together at the wedding where we sort of dance and sing.
Which
to
we're
each
about
other.
to do
today, yeah.
this afternoon. We got the songs maybe about a month ago, probably, is it now?
3
or 4 weeks ago,
yeah.
and we had a vocal coach who we were sort of all working with on and off, and I think that was kind of even more for the guys who wrote the music and the stuff to see if we could actually
and
sing
have a sense of our voices
and our keys and all that kind of stuff.
They wrote the music.
Yeah.
They wrote the songs for us to suit our voices.
Yeah.
So that also is great because instead of feeling like you're worried about reaching for something that isn't really right for you or trying to make it fit in your voice in a certain way, we knew that the composers were actually gearing it toward what our voices wanted to do. Alan and Michael have been awesome. I mean, we all have really loved the songs, and I think what happened was that they, as composers, just pitched their music and their idea for how a musical version of Once would work, and Eddie and Adam responded to that idea and then took that to another level to figure out how it was going to work in the mythology of the show. And then they met with all of us to hear our voices. They met with Eddie and Adam to figure out exactly how it was going to work. And then also Mark Isham was involved as well, so who scores the show. So it was sort of a collaborative effort between all of the creative elements to come to a place where the music reflected the vibe of the show that it has always been. It also had lyrics that were serving the storytelling, and it also was something that really suited each of our voices and our characters' personalities in the right way.
We quite literally, at every Comic-Con or every press thing that we've done,
Have been asked
about will Once do a musical. I mean, if any show realistically is going to do a musical episode, this show is probably the perfect candidate because it's, you know, it's a Disney. It just fits in our world. It's great, and you know, Alan and sort of Michael said to me that they'd heard that we'd been asked that, and they were like, well, we can do it. We can write, because I think Eddie had answered at one Comic-Con, yes, but we're not sure how we would write the music, and they were like, we'll write the music, we'll do it.
Yeah.
So.
And they did an amazing job. I mean, the collaborative effort, it just suits the show.
Yeah.
It's just, there's every once in a while you get to a place where you're like, everything feels right about this. So clearly we haven't seen it yet because we're still in the midst of shooting it. However, everything about it so far has felt so authentically right for Once Upon a Time.
Snow White, back in the day, apparently made a wish upon a star.
It's her fault.
That she would procure for Emma what she needed to achieve her happy ending someday in the future. And what came of that was waking up into a musical. Snow White and Prince Charming wake up in a musical the next morning and realize that song is the most powerful weapon of all, and that this can be used against the evil queen because they assume that it is vanquishing the evil queen that will give Emma her happy ending. But of course there's a twist, and that's not what gets Emma her happy ending. I feel that what's really incredible about these songs is that A, they're self-aware, and so they allow in audience members like me who are going to be cynical, but also they continue the story. Instead of it being that we stop the flow of action to tell you how we feel, it really furthers both our emotions and the plot. And even the dancing supports the acting. Instead of it being that we're just stopping and breaking out in dance numbers, it's that like all of our emotions are motivated by what's happening.
There's just a lot more rehearsals than what we normally get, and of course we don't get any more time to do it. It's the same amount of time, so it's been a lot of work.
So we rehearsed during the filming of the last episode, and we recorded in our free moments. Yeah. But we were given the music a couple weeks before that, and we were sent to a vocal coach in LA. Some people did it via Skype. We happened to be in LA with our kids, and so that made it also a lot less scary for those of us who don't do musicals. I feel like most of us have actually been singing, by the way, because we're finding that lip syncing is actually a lot harder than just singing over your voice and having them take out the wonky sounds of it being live.
It works much better if you sing live along with your pre-record.
You see everything moving. You actually like hit the beginnings and ends of the
out of your neck,
words accurately. Because lip syncing it ends up is a lot harder. It's a lot more exhausting than just singing over your voice.
We can only speak for our song. I mean, it really serves the story and serves the lyrics of what we're saying. So it's not just like we sing, a chorus and then we break down into a tap routine. It's not quite like that.
Like we use the movement to express.
Yeah, it's all character based. So it drives the story forward.
The Evil Queen, I don't think we'd ever thought she would sing. It's really fun to see her sing. It's been a lot of fun for me to sing. Her number is more kind of more along the lines of, David Bowie meets Rocky Horror Picture Show. And I have, I think the only rock number. So she's a full-on glam rock. There's a lot of dancing involved. There's a few vignettes in her song where she goes and she visits Geppetto and Granny and the dwarves, and it's a lot of fun. I'm having a blast. It's been one of my favorite episodes. We see the Evil Queen dance for the first time in a very sort of fun, seductive Fosse meets Hamilton way. That was a lot of fun for me. I haven't danced like that in probably 15 years. So it required a ton of rehearsal, and I love it. I love it. It woke up the inner dancer in me. It's been a lot of fun, and there was a lot of rehearsal because the number was so big. I think the music's amazing. It's all original songs written by Alan Zachary and Michael Weiner, and they did a phenomenal job. These are two guys that really know the show and have followed the show, so they really understand the characters, and that was really helpful in writing the music for the show. And I'm ready for the next musical. Truly, it's been a lot of fun. Having this musical is going to be a breath of fresh air for people. They're going to see a different side to these characters and learn something new about the actors that they love. And I think it's just going to be a huge hit.
It's kind of about the power of song and how it connects our family. And I think it's really, really interesting and cool how they incorporated the musical episode into the show. Instead of just, throwing in random songs, they have these meaningful songs to our series that kind of tie things together nicely. The music is completely original, and I think that's really interesting because a lot of some musical shows, they kind of take songs and adjust them or change them to fit in their own style. But with ours, it's like new stuff, and I think it's amazing because these are going to be songs, original things connected to our show. I think they're going to love it because this is something that's the fans have wanted for a while. So I think that's something that they're really going to enjoy. I think they're also really going to enjoy the fact that we're kind of using stories and kind of going back to the past a little bit and kind of tying things up really nicely in this musical episode, which I just love. It's kind of incredible because not only do we have to film the musical side of it, but we also have to film the television show part of it. So we're mixing our normal dialogue with the musical aspect of it. And adding the musical aspect adds a lot more work, camera angles, and choreography that you wouldn't have to think about in a normal television series. But of course, we also have the normal blocking, so it's like a massive mishmash of awesomeness.
It's completely different to any episode we have ever done. I mean, we've literally shot a musical. It couldn't be more perfect. The fans have wanted us to do this for years, and all the conventions that we do, they've always said, would you like to do one? And I've always advocated for it. I think it's a brilliant idea, and the fans are going to love it. They're going to freak out when they see it. I found out very, very last minute, and I said, I can sing, please let me be in it, I'll give you 20 quid. And they let me, so, you know, they threw me a bone and gave me a solo. My solo is wicked. When I first heard it, I didn't know what to do with myself. I started dancing around my house. I was like, ah! It's so cool. What's great about the musical is it isn't its standalone episode where it's just removed from everything else. It is actually part of the story and part of us coming up to the final battle towards the end of season 6. So it's not sort of like apropos of nothing and doesn't make sense. It's continuing the story, except that we've been put under this curse where we just can't stop singing, which happens to me in real life anyway, so it's totally normal. I mean, it's Disney. It's like when you watch a Disney cartoon, all of a sudden everyone breaks out into song and off you go. And it's like that's what this episode is. It's like a little mini Disney movie, and I think all the fans will have fun with the song. And I'm sure I'll be meeting lots of fans singing my song to me, which I look forward to. I think Once Upon a Time will always be remembered for these songs as well. They're very special, and there was so much thought put into them that they are very reminiscent of Once Upon a Time and really tell the characters' stories.
Last summer, a couple of incredibly talented composers, Alan and Michael, came to see us, and they were very enthusiastic about the show and about the idea of doing a musical episode. And as we started talking, ideas started to flow, and we started to think maybe there is a way to do it.
I think, for us also, as we knew this year was going to be the wedding of Emma and Hook, and we thought, well, the one request we've had since the show began is, when are you going to do a musical? Because obviously fairy tales lend themselves to that. So I think we thought, well, this is the perfect opportunity to make their wedding even more special. Let's make that the musical. A lot of them come from musical theater. All of them love musical theater, and they all have a lot of talent. And so the minute we brought this up to them, they were like children. They were all like, let's put on a show. I mean, every single one of them was very excited about it.
I mean, one thing we've learned over the years is never bet against our cast. There's nothing they can't do. And when we started to talk about the musical, it was funny. I didn't really even think about it as like a question of could they do it, would they want to do it. I just assumed they could. And not only could they do it, they exceeded our expectations.
We've become used to writing things and then them making us look better. So we thought, well, this should be no different.
Alan and Michael were big fans of the show, and ABC put us together with them and said that they were interested in doing a musical episode. They had some ideas for how to do it, and they sent us some of their songwriting and songs they'd done, and we were blown away by how talented they were, and we were actually quite surprised. We're like, wow, these guys are legitimately successful Broadway composers and really, great talented songwriters, and they want to do a musical for our show. Okay, that sounds amazing. And we sat down with them, and they were amazing, and it really became a question of could we pull it off in terms of time and in terms of how we tell stories on this show, and with enough lead time and all the logistics of it. Like, all those questions start to come into play. But on a creative level, Alan and Michael were so in sync with us that it was an incredible collaboration from the get-go.
In terms of figuring out what songs we were going to do and how we were going to approach the musical to this episode, one thing we knew or decided on pretty quickly, and it was a little bit sort of second nature to us, was the idea of doing the flashbacks as songs, knowing that we're in the Enchanted Forest, knowing that, again, we have kind of all these heightened ideas that kind of tend to lend themselves to musicals in terms of these heightened emotions. And so we, in talking about it, very quickly realized that what we wanted to do was do a bunch of flashbacks. Each flashback would have a song in it. Each flashback would revolve very closely around a character or a couple characters, and then wanting to bring music into the end, into Storybrooke in Act 6, to kind of just show that the sort of fantastical elements that we've been dealing with really being dragged into, you know, quote unquote, the real world for the musical and for the wedding, so that we could have that kind of burst of emotion when Hook and Emma get married. In terms of the styles of the songs, I mean, it was very much a collaboration. I mean, again, when you've lived with these characters for 6 years, there are certain things that just kind of leap out at you. And again, with the two of them being fans of the show, I don't think they were surprised that, you know, to have this sort of Rocky Horror Picture Show quality with Regina's song, and to think about what Snow and Charming's song. I mean, again, it fairly quickly we realized, you know, we wanted them to do a love duet and have it a little bit more of a classic Disney feel to it in terms of their characters. So there was a back and forth, and there was a pushing and pulling of some of the feelings within the songs, but it was a collaboration in terms of figuring out what the sort of the genre was going to be for everybody. When you talk about doing a musical episode, you also have to interface with the other episodes of television that have been musicals and the kind of tropes and what people have done before, and really make sure, you know, we didn't want to repeat anything. We wanted to do something that we felt was new, and that felt to us a way of, there have been episodes where people are forced to sing, or, you know, they can't help it, and it's actually a bad thing. And again, the show, in sort of the character of Disney as a whole, wouldn't want singing to be a bad thing. It really felt sort of powerful to make singing this good thing, a powerful thing, something that can kind of, you know, break down walls, that can kind of encompass love. And the second we started talking about that, it felt right. And again, it felt like we were going down the right path in terms of what, you know, a once version of a musical would be as opposed to some other show.
From the beginning, the discussion with the production team and the writers was that music truly felt organic to the story. It was not just here as a joke. It was not just here to do a musical and we've done it. It had to have real meaning for each of the characters and where their journeys were. And if you look at each song in the episode, it's at a huge emotional moment for each character. A lot of the early conversations with the team involved what emotional place would the characters be at that would be most satisfying to have them sing at that moment. What would be the most dramatic moment they would be at where a song just comes out. And that's really what we focused on, because you want to feel like the song is earned. You want to feel like it's worthy of the story that's being told, and that they're not just singing as a joke or a one-off thing, but that it's telling the story and it's forwarding the characters and it's revealing something about their innermost fears or secrets or desires that we wouldn't know without them singing it.
It was a real treat, and the process of it being first working with them, writing the songs, and then getting them in the studio to do the pre-records, because they'd be lip-syncing on the soundstage. So each one of them was going into the booth. We sat with them for a couple hours, going through, you know, multiple takes of them singing through it, singing through parts of the songs, and kind of finding their voice even in that moment. And we got to watch them find their performances, which is always such a treat because they're all such great actors. And as they're getting used to singing, but then infusing their singing with the character that they've developed over so many years was just incredible, because suddenly you saw Lana starts off, she's singing, sounds good, and suddenly you watch as the evil queen comes into her performance, and it was like, oh my God, what a treat.
They cast a spell so everyone breaks into song.
It's a magical fairy tale wedding event. Once Upon a Time, the musical episode, Sunday on ABC.